Yeah. All right, so I folded my paper in half twice to get 4 boxes, writing my name at the top. All right, so in box 1, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be drawing a very weird face. Okay, so this is all the things that I don't want to see, but I see them all the time. All right, first we're going to draw somewhat of some kind of just random oval-y circle thing. Yeah, and notice I drew it. I didn't sketch it because these are things I don't want to see. Yeah, you're going to copy me just so it's ingrained in your head. These are terrible things. I will not repeat them. All right, first thing. Are my eyes way too big, way too high, and way too close together? Yeah, this is box 1. Everybody's copying what I'm doing. But yes, you are drawing because it's wrong. All right, so I gave it little tiny eyebrows. There's no forehead. These are all the things we don't want to do. All right, next thing, some people overcompensate with this long face, so then they have this long nose. And then they're like, oh, look at all this space down here. Let me just fill it up with these big, giant lips that leave no room for a chin. Okay, ears, I really don't have any like pet peeves about ears, but let's say if you just leave them off, we don't want to do that. All right, with hair, one thing I don't want to see is when you just put hair right there on top of your head, like a cartoon baby. Even if your hair is really short, you still have hair over here. Even if you're bald, you would still have something probably, or at least a hairline. But either way, all of this is wrong. All right. So if you need a reminder, you can draw like a sad face. Like this will make me sad. Maybe even make me a little bit mad. But not good. Yeah, you don't want to do these things. All right, so we're going to go to box 2. This person's still going to look weird, but at least it's kind of correct. Okay, all right. So we're going to start with a dotted line down the middle and a dotted line across the middle. So we have a nice little T shape there. You'll see it looks so light. All right, so on your actual face, your actual human face, if you take your thumb and your pointer finger and you measure your eye like sideways like this, okay, and then you move it over to the middle, that's how far apart your eyes are. Whoa, isn't that like mind-blowing? Yes. Okay, so the reason that's important, because if you were painting a mural or a tiny little picture, you have a good idea of how far apart to make your eyes, so you don't end up with this hot mess right here. All right, so on this little T shape, we're going to draw just a simple little eye shape, so just kind of like a football. So parenthesis shape, right in the middle there. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see it better. All right, so this is the imaginary eye. It's not actually there. So on the sides, I'm going to put the actual eyes, and they're touching. They're roughly the same size, and there's no gap between because this imaginary eye is the space between. All right, so like I said, this is going to be a weird looking face. Ryan? You can't see? You want to move up to this table for today? Okay, you're just going to have to wipe down both. All right, so to make sure we remember that we don't have 3 eyes, hopefully you can remember that on your own, but if not, we're going to put just like a little bit of color there in the middle. So we know these are real and we don't have 3 eyes. No. Great. So now our person, they're very upset about their 3rd eye, so they're crying from right here where all the eyes are connected. Little tiny dots coming down. Yep. And then they're very upset about crying, so they cried again, but this time right from the middle of their eye. And this time it went down even further. All right, so what do you think is going to go in between these 2 lines? Good, your nose. Not the bridge of your nose, which is the skinny part, but the wider part fits about this area. But what we don't want is super long nose, like this guy over here, or a nose that's squeezed right between your eyes. We don't want that either. So what you do to measure your nose is if you, again, take your thumb and pointer finger, measure from the outside of your eye to the middle, okay, and then you turn it, that's about the size of your nose. It's not perfect, but it's pretty close, okay? So I'm going to do the same thing on here. Measure from the outside of the eye to the middle, turn it, and I know that's where my end of my nose needs to be. And I'm going to put a tiny little smile so it looks like a creepy little face. All right, but we know this is the nose, not a creepy little smile. So I'm going to add 2 more little smiles on the side just for a simple little nose. So there's smile 1, and we have smile 2 that's turned a little bit. And then smile 3 that's turned a little bit. So now you just have a simple little nose. Don't add the shadow on the side. We're not there yet. Rumor, is that better? Okay. All right, so what do you think is going to go between these 2 lines? The lines? The head? You can't put your head between your eyes. We have eyes. We have a nose. What do you think's going on here? The mouth, okay? But we don't want to just throw it like way down here, way up here. So this one's kind of a weird measurement. And don't poke yourself in the eye. But if you measure your eye from like top to bottom, again, it's kind of freaky. And then put it below your nose, that's about the distance. So we're going to draw yet another eye right here. So it looks like my person's screaming. But this is not their mouth. It's another imaginary eye because that's the distance we need from the bottom of the nose to the top of the mouth. All right, so just below that eye, I'm going to put a line. We'll just make it straight across, connect those 2 dotted lines. All right, and then I'm going to add lips, but we are not adding this. Okay. So we're going to add a bottom lip. So just a soft little curve. I don't have anywhere for you to move. All right, and then we'll do the top lip. This one's got the little bumpities in the middle. So it comes up, dips down. So we have these 2 little bumps on top. All right, we're going to add 1 more eye, okay? So measure your eye again from side to side. And if you put it under your lip, it's about the size of your chin. Again, not perfect, but it's about. So you measure your eye, move it under your chin, or sorry, under your lip. That's about how big your eye is. So we're going to draw an imaginary eye right there. So it looks like they have a little goatee. Five. All right, we're going to do just the bottom of the face, so the side. I'm not drawing the top of the head yet, okay? All right, so bottom of the face, if you kind of look at how the lips curve, you'll kind of follow along with that. You don't want to go like straight shot from here to there. Otherwise, you're going to have this really skinny alien-like face. So we're going to curve it out, make it a little wide. And when you're kind of even with the lip, then we're going to straighten it out. So it is pretty close to the eye, but it got there on like a nice gradual curve, not like a crazy intense like slide. And I stopped at my eyes. I didn't go up to the top of my head yet. Yeah, copy me. All right. Next thing we're going to add are some simple eyebrows. They don't have to be like super detailed or anything. All right, but they need to be slightly above the eye. Make sure you're quiet when I'm talking. Slightly above the eye. You don't want them like crazy up here or they look super surprised. So just a little bit above the eye, and it needs to be longer than the eye. It usually has an arch or a peak. So I'm just going to do the baseline first, and then I'll thicken it up. So what side is thicker of an eyebrow? Near the nose or near where the ears are? Good, near the nose. So this side is thicker, and then it gets thinner. Well, that's a little too thin. A little thinner on the side of the face. Matching those is like the hardest part. All right, and then before we move up to the top of the head, we're going to put one more dotted line right under the nose, going off to the side of the face slightly. All right, so what do you think I'm going to add now? No, we're going to actually leave all this weird stuff just so you can remember where things go. So what do you think is going to go in these spots? Your ears. So we're just going to add a nice little curve on the sides there. They don't look like what? Oh, it's all right. As long as you have the placement right. Just a simple little curve. All right. So now this one drives me crazy. This right here, where we have no forehead. You see this all the time. Okay. So what you're going to do on your actual face, it's kind of hard to do because you're wearing a mask, but if you measure your nose, it's like the very bottom to where it like dips down between your eyes. You measure your nose and then move it right above your eyebrows. It's about how big your forehead is. Again, it's not like perfect, but it's pretty close. So we'll measure our person's nose, move it above their eyebrow, and I'll put a little mark there so I know my forehead needs to be that big. And I'm talking about my forehead, not my entire head. Just my forehead. So my hairline needs to start right there. All right, so now from this point, everybody's got different hair, so it's going to be kind of up to you what you want to do. If you have really, really short hair, or you spike it up, or you have it pulled back in a pony, then you will just see, like I said, you'll see just your hair coming out of your head. And I know it looks weird right now. This is not the top of my head, though. This is the roots of my hair coming out. And then if your hair hangs down in your face, so if you have like short, or maybe it's really long, okay, it's coming down like that. But the top of my head is way up here. Okay, this person cut their own hair. And then this one, if you had like a pony, you would have a bun back here, kind of like in the video we saw when you were walking in. Or if you had like spiky or curly hair. So we just have a lot going on in this picture. Oh, y'all can't see it. Okay, so the hair is pretty much up to you, but just make sure it's coming out of here and you have a top of your head. Don't have the top of your head ending right there. It's too flat. Okay, so even if you were bald, like somebody mentioned earlier, your top of your head would still be like up here. You would just kind of ignore your forehead, I guess, because you wouldn't have a hairline. Okay, all right. Does this all make sense? This crazy looking person? A little much? A little crazy? Okay. All right. So now that we're all good and confused, let's go to box 3. And you're going to turn your paper sideways. So here's my paper. It's turned sideways, and I'm in box 3. All right, in box 3, I'm going to sketch out an eye. I know I'm going kind of fast, but y'all missed a day, so I'm trying to get y'all caught up. All right, so box 3, we're sketching an eye. So we're going to start with the top of your eyelid, and everybody's looks different. You could have just like a nice curved eye, so just a simple one, or sometimes you don't have to draw both of these. I'm just showing you different things. What is that noise? Band is gone. All right, well, focus on this. Okay. All right, or it could arch. Sometimes it's arches to more than one side than the other. But either way you want to do it. So if yours is wonky a little bit, that's okay because some people's eyes look like that. It's not that big. Like, see, here's my hand compared to it. It's not that big. All right, the bottom eyelid is usually a little more straight. Not always, but usually. So it's still curved, but a little more straight, and I'm not closing it all the way. I left a gap right there. I'm going to tell you in just a second. All right, so the reason I left this open is because our eye doesn't come like to a straight football shape. It comes to like a little point, what I call the eye booger cavity, where you get eye boogers like when you're tired or sick, and this little gross little pink thing right there, okay? So we're gonna add that. I'm gonna bring it up, and I'm gonna dip it down a little bit. Okay, and this is an actual human. You can see this is what I'm talking about. This little eye booger cavity. Okay. All right, so that's what I do right there. All right, and then we are going to be doing a little bit of shading. Nothing crazy, but a little bit. So when I shade, I like to move my hand back on my pencil a little bit so I can use the flatter side of my pencil. And I'm going to slightly shade in my eye booger cavity. So I'm going to do that edge and all the sides, and I'm going to leave the center white or really light. So I just lightly shaded that in. All right, the next part's going to be optional, but let me show you what I'm talking about. I call it like a little ledge. So hers is kind of hard to see, but it's this little piece of skin right here. On this one, you can see it really well. So this piece of skin, we're just kind of accentuating that before the eyelashes come out. All right, so you do not have to draw this, but I'm going to put a really light little line right there at the base, and then it kind of just blends in on the end. The little line is real light, yeah. All right, and then we're going to add the colored part of your eye. Do y'all know what that's called? Iris. Okay, iris is the colored part. So when you're drawing this, what you don't want to do, so don't draw this, is be able to see the whole thing. Okay, your eyes would have to be open like really, really big for you to see the whole thing. We typically don't see the top. Sometimes you see the bottom. It just depends on the person, but you usually don't see the tops. Like this guy's, you see a lot of his bottom plus some white underneath. Hers, you don't see the bottom. Hers, you see a little bit of the bottom. And then his, you don't see the bottom at all. Okay? All right, so we're going to draw that circle. I should not see the top. And then seeing the bottom or not seeing it, that'll be kind of up to you. What? Don't color it in yet because we still have other stuff to add. All right. Next thing we're going to add, this is going to be kind of your choice too. Actually, let's just do a circle. This is going to be confusing, so I need y'all to pay attention. I'm adding a circle, but this is going to be my highlight, which what do you think that means? Nope, not the eyelashes. The highlight of your eyeball, what do you think that is? It's not always in the middle, Ryan. Not the center. What do we call the little black dot? The pupil. So the highlight is where the light's reflecting off your eye, okay? So let me show you my real people again. So see hers, it's this little white circle. This one's almost like an octagon. little white circle. Okay, and the next one's weird, but that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the pupil, okay? All right, so I'm going to draw kind of off to the side a very light circle. And I know y'all can draw, I know y'all can sketch lightly because y'all have hidden all your little shapes for me. All right, and then I'm going to put the pupil, but I cannot put anything inside that little circle. It has to stay white. So I'm going to sketch out my pupil. And I did not go inside my highlight. So what color should the pupil be? Black. So we're going to color that in dark. All right, and then we're going to add the detail in the eye, which we're not just going to color this in, okay? I'm going to darken the iris edge just a little bit, and if you can't see the bottom, then don't darken it. Don't darken the border, I mean, of that part. Sorry if that was confusing. So I'm only darkening the borders that I can see. All right, and then again, looking at my real people. So her eyes are like that brown that's almost black. You can't see the details of her eyes very much. But like these are lighter color eyes, and you can see it's not just a solid color. There's like patterns in there. Same thing with hers. Okay. All right. So we're not going to do super detailed patterns, but we're also not just going to color this in. So think about like when you're in kindergarten, you're drawing the outside, and you're like, oh, I'm going to draw the sun. Some of y'all are like, I still draw my suns like that. All right, so think of a sun like this, okay? You're going to think of your pupil as the sun. Everybody got it? You visualized it? All right, so now our sun is going to have a whole bunch of these little rays. So I'm going to have a bunch of little lines coming off the eye, very, very little white gaps between. And I'm going outside my highlight because I want it to look shiny. Okay, Rumor. Stop. All right, we just have three. Oh, I said four. We have three more things to add, and then I think we're done with the eye. Should be. Oh, I was like, no, we're still on the eye. No, the nose. All right, over the eye, there's typically this little fold of skin. It's the eye crease, so we're just going to add a little arch over the eye. And I kind of lightly color it. You do not want to make this super dark. This is not my eyebrow. This is the skin fold thing right there. So I'm kind of lightly coloring it so I can take my finger and just lightly blend it. If you overblend, it looks like you have a whole bunch of makeup on. So lightly blend. All right, so that's the eye crease. Next thing is optional, so you don't have to do it. This is shading again, but your eye is not like glowing white. It actually has a little shadow on it. So very lightly, I would add shadow to the edges and underneath the eyelid. You do not have to add this. All right, so you can tell mine's like barely there. All right, so the last thing, are y'all good? Is everybody caught up? We're good? I think a lot of y'all skipped the shading. Okay, last thing we're gonna add are the eyelashes. Okay, and there's a few things we don't want to do because sometimes these can totally ruin all the effort you did. All right, so some of the things we don't want to see, you do not have to draw these things. All right, so if this is my eye, I don't want to see these extreme eyelashes. These look like you got electrocuted. This is a little much, okay? other thing is some people kind of get like nervous, so then they take their time and they really pay attention to their eyelashes, and it looks like SpongeBob's. We don't want this either. All right, so it has to be kind of a quick motion, okay? So not on your eye yet, but just off to the side, kind of going out, because our eyelashes are going out and up a little bit. So you go, and think about what an eyelash looks like. It's thicker at the bottom, thinner at the top, and that's what that swoosh motion will give you. So think like a Nike check, it's thicker at the bottom, thinner at the top. Kind of like that, but don't be like so dramatic about it. So they should look nice and natural. Not on your eye yet, just kind of practice off to the side. So for the eyelashes, we're going to add them. They're going to be longer away from the eyebrow cavity. And I actually don't want you to put any between the iris and eyebrow cavity. Do you have some there? Yes. But we're going to keep it minimal so we don't end up with electrocuted or SpongeBob. All right, so we start with the edge, and you don't go crazy and add a whole bunch in the beginning. Start with the edge and like that one's kind of long. But I'm going to space them out, and they get real short by the time I get to my iris. Okay, and then I can go back and add different links so they look more natural. Yeah, if you need to make sound effect, that's totally okay. It helps me sometimes too. Okay, if you want it to look more like a boy, you probably don't want to go overload with eyelashes, even if you have long ones. If you want it to look like they have makeup on, you'll make them a little thicker, especially at the base. Then bottom eyelashes are going to be just under the ledge if you want to add them. And again, these are pretty short and spread out. Don't get too close to the eyebrow cavity though. Yeah, I thought you already did. Yes, start.